You are watching a motivational video. It comes as an advice, but also to motivate you as well. 10 reasons why your country is poor. Welcome to Fingers and Finance, the newsroom session, the place where inspiration births wealth. I will tell you why your country and mine, which is Ghana, is falling behind so many others. We are shocked by how many economies are evolving with a full scheme of things, and ours is nothing to write home about. Ask yourself, why are some countries poor and why do they fail to catch up to the rest of the world? Every country in the world is growing, some faster than others. This is important to keep in mind because compared to 70 years ago, even the worst of the least have seen some massive improvements, but they are still somewhat behind what's considered traditional Western countries. The 10 reasons we will state here, through research and proper surveillance, will at the end intertwine with one another and how people are self-sabotaging their long-term growth for personal and temporary gain. Here are 10 reasons why your country is poor. Number 1. Corrupt government. Here we are about to go into what we believe is every person's preferred topic: corruption, dishonesty, bribery, or why some countries never move ahead at the same speed as everyone else. Statistically speaking, the top 10 poorest countries in the world are the most corrupt. On the flip side, the richest countries in the world are the least corrupt. Why does this make such a big change? It's because when corruption doesn't exist, the institutions that make up the state run effectively. People end up in positions of power based on merit. Singapore used the MPH, which is the meritocracy, pragmatism, and honesty system to rule, and they developed. In this system, possessions are not wasted, and the population trusts the government to make their lives easier and safer. In poor countries, corruption is general. It begins in schools where teachers require small donations to pump up grades. You can get away with a speeding ticket if you're offering a bribe to the police officer, and even land a high-paying job in government if you pay off the right people. Corruption keeps criminals out of jail and allows them to keep stacking up government coffers at the expense of its inhabitants. Your political leaders are probably living in wealth, but unable to justify how they built it. They use their party political influence to defend themselves. And because the judicial system is also corrupt, they go scot-free. The population is supposed to be the caretaker of corruption, to vote the corrupt out. But in the majority of the cases, the population itself is corrupt and doesn't realize that they are trading their future for pennies on the dollar, cedi, or your currency you spend. Number 2, a lack of transportation, infrastructure, roads, bridges, highways, tunnels, railways, airports, sea terminals, and more. These are the basis on which trade is built, and trade is the main powerful force behind economic growth. You bring product into your country and you export your own. Transportation is vital to the lasting financial success of every country. And this isn't a secret. These allow people to transport goods throughout the country to exchange products and increase the overall ability of everyone to add value. Now you can take your bike, scooter, or car and travel to a nearby city for work that pays better, or sell your product in the market for a bigger profit. Same for children to school, and if their situation arises, you can reach the hospital in no time. The impact the lack of transportation infrastructure has throughout the economy swells into almost every aspect of life. Almost every politician in these poor countries always promised better infrastructure, but always fail to deliver it because there is a lot of money to be made here. They offer these high-value contracts to companies that they benefit from robbing the population twofold. The money ends up in the pockets of a few, and then secondly, because of the potential earnings that a successful program could have generated for the community. This is a case in my country, Ghana. And if this is the case in your country as well, please like the video. It tells us that we are on point with our research. Number 3. Absence of information and telecommunications setup. You have people like Elon Musk with Starlink, a constellation of satellites to provide cheap internet for everyone. Mark Zuckerberg, internet beaming electric drone planes, and the already successful implemented Jio in India. Thanks to Mukesh Ambani, although poor countries might not be able to afford the latest iPhone, the drop in smartphone prices has significantly helped progress. We've seen this on YouTube with the astronomical rise of TV series. Sooner or later, companies will realize that there are untapped markets waiting for them, and once they hit the ceiling and their main demographics, they will begin building outside of traditional developed countries. Number 4. Near to the ground quality of education. Not only is the education system corrupt, but it is also extremely outmoded, or in some places, absent. Teachers are poorly paid, have more kids in their classrooms than they can handle, and lack the suitable teaching tools to do their jobs efficiently. All of this leaves the population in a dangerous situation where the blind end up leading the blind. This strategic discrepancy are massive. Poorly trained teachers develop narrow-minded populations where their thought has no real value in the marketplace, unless an uneducated population doesn't stand up for what is right. It is more easily manipulated and allows for corruption to blossom. While the population isn't properly trained, they cannot be operative in the market, thus producing less value over time. Knowledgeable capital is the key to escaping poverty at a national level in order to increase their shot at a normal life. Those who seek education and are actually in a position to improve the country's conditions are forced to leave it in a paradox that's draining the motherland of the very few people who could have provided the change needed, even if external aid comes in to help with education. We've seen numerous cases where computers were donated and ended up in areas where there were no electricity. When the government fails, there is very little help others can provide, and it all starts with how educated the population is. Number 5. Weak democracy. To begin with, democracy is required to make the blueprint for this. If your country is ruled by a tyrant, your life by default is less than favorable. Now here's the difference between strong and weak democracies, and you can attest it for yourself and your own country. In a strong democracy, people feel strong and in control of their politicians. In a weak democracy, the people feel disconnected from politics and believe they can't change anything. If everything we've touched upon until this point is applied, the population will regulate government. They will protest, vote out ineffective politicians, and support ideas that matter to them. However, if your democracy is weak, people don't go out to vote because they believe their voice doesn't matter. They don't care about local or national policies. To put it simply, they just go with the flow. This allows for manipulation and keeps power in the hands of very few. In a strong democracy, the population is constantly consulted by the government because these people are selected to protest the interests of the mainstream. A great example is Switzerland, where the population gets to vote on over 30 referendums per year, from budget changes to agriculture to development projects. The population has a semi-direct say in what gets done. Number 6. Super religious. Statistically speaking, the more religious a country is, the poorer the population. The only valid example is Ghana or Africa as a whole. But even there, we can make a case for what counts as religious. So why does this happen? Most religions claim to already possess the truth, thus taking a stance on new developments, effectively taking the country out of the technological race. Also, the most religious look down on financial success, but at the same time promise unlimited wealth to those who choose to live a humble life. The irony is silly. When you combine these two, it is easy to see how a country cons itself in a belief loop that is meant to keep them away from riches. In many of these countries, having a comfortable life is almost seen as a sin, and those who go through hardship are believed to be earning of respect. If your country has more churches than schools, your country is probably poor. I repeat, if your country has more churches than schools, your country is probably poor. If there are fewer medical centers than places of worship, your country has a belief problem. If religious leaders in your country have a direct say or influence towards politics, your country is being held back. Number 7. Unexpectedly, the country is resource rich. There is this thing called the resource curse. It's why some of the richest countries in the world from a natural resource perspective end up being so poor. Diabetes of countries, poverty in the mind of many. Number 8. Nepotism, whom you know. Let's imagine you're in charge of running a very important project. You've got a list of applicants to select from as an alternative of hiring the most capable individual. You gave the job to your son, who's never worked a day in his life. Not only does your son blow the entire thing, wasting valuable resources, but you are also losing the potential growth a successful project would have generated. Nepotism is a deadly disease for fragile countries. It doesn't mean only hiring blood relatives, but also people who are from the same team as you are, either politically, religiously, racially, and so on. There's a great quote from Daniel Alarcon that goes like this: Nepotism is the lower and least creative form of corruption. People feel entitled to success and a great lifestyle without balancing it with other value. Nepotism is basically theft. Number 9. Little social contribution. What is a country if not the sum of all the people, their behaviors, their memories and beliefs all wrapped up in a lovely burrito with a pennant? You know the saying, be the change you want to see in the world. Yeah, you've seen your auntie share it on Instagram because it's the truth. If you don't have running water, your country is poor. If you have to burn the trash, your country is poor. If you throw the trash on the street, your country is poor. If the park in your local community is ruined, it is because you are not taking 25 minutes out of your day to fix it. In poor countries, the population feels entitled. They are arrogant in their desolation. Everybody wishes that things could be better. Number 10. Only the thieves have money. Maybe in your community, only the thieves have money. Maybe your church is telling you to give your possessions away, most likely to the church. Maybe nobody in your family ever tried being more. There was never a time when people had access to this kind of information readily available to them. It all starts with a different mindset, with you taking control of your education and your action. No matter where you live in this world, in this moment right now, you have at your fingertips the technology to craft a different future for yourself and for your country than the one everyone else has already accepted. Let me leave you with this. Being broke is a temporary economic situation. Being poor is a state of mind. And you, yes, you are nowhere near being poor. Thank you for spending some time with us. Make sure to subscribe, like, and share so you never miss another video. Thanks again.